I remember her saying, I'm on the way. And I remember being like, I was so scared to tell her. My mom and her drove 6.5 hours to pick me up. And it sounds weird, but in that moment, that was in so much pain is where I found rest.
Woo! Welcome to Find Another Zero podcast with my man, the myth, the legend, the man who fights bears.
100%.
Brad, how do you say your last name?
Papez.
Papez. It's P-A-P-E-Z. I've heard Papez. I've heard tons of shit that's wrong, apparently.
Well, we actually don't know how to pronounce my last name.
Okay, well, who's the hell is we? How many personalities do you have?
So, my family doesn't actually.
Okay.
So, we're from Lithuania.
Okay.
And a little fun fact for you, Lithuania was the first country, one, to break away from the Soviet Union.
USSR.
100%. And then, but also to join the Soviet Union when they were taken over in the early 1900s. And I forgot what trials they were called, but they were hunting. It was Better Dead Than Red, and that actually took place in Wisconsin.
Wait, what? How did we get to Wisconsin?
So
I just missed. I blinked.
There was like a kind of like a witch trial finding communism in America.
Gotcha.
And it took place in the 50s.
Okay.
And I can't think of what it's called right now, but that took place in Wisconsin, and that's where my family's from.
Gotcha.
And so my great-grandpa made sure that my grandpa made it sound like paper without the R, and you add a Z, so it sounded more English than Lithuania.
All right.
And then, like, we could probably look it up, but my dad and my uncles were asking, like, my grandpa, how do you say the name? And he's like, nope, we're American Papezes. So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
American Papezes.
Yep. So
Everybody out there, this is Brad, American Papez. He's definitely not from Lithuania.
Nope, not at all.
Definitely not.
Nope.
My name is Bart Pietrzak, Bartek Bogusław Pietrzak, born in Chicago, Illinois, Polish as fuck.
Okay.
CEO of Project Power Gym, what you see behind me.
Yeah.
And it's a treat to have you on the show today, sir, because you and I exchange many philosophical conversations as you exercise your muscles here in this gym.
Oh, 100%.
You belong to the Supplement Superstores gang.
Yep.
Right? Best fucking gang in the land.
Oh, 100%.
So I wanted you on the show a bunch of different times. Hasn't happened yet. Fell through this and that, but you're here. We're here to talk. We're going to chum it up. We got so many things in common. A lot of people say that you're like the younger me.
Yeah.
Probably because you're extremely good looking, I would say.
That's definitely it.
Definitely it. But really what I find interesting is the way we met was at Supplement Superstores. I was picking up one of my care packages.
Yep.
And, you came out of the back, introduced yourself, and your back was fucked up.
You remember what you told me?
Do you remember what I told you?
I remember exactly what I remember.
All right, I should let everybody know what I said.
So we were talking about weightlifting, my goal was to bench 405 because I was strong before my back injury, and then it dropped all the way down, and then I got my strength back, and then I hurted my back again, so my strength was back down, and I was like telling Bart, I was like, hey, dude, if I could just be strong, but I'm dealing with my back injury, it's really holding me back, and I was using it as almost like a handicap, and you asked me, and you said, does a warrior fight the war, or does the war make the warrior? And we sat there and talked, and it's definitely that the war makes the warrior. And you said,
otherwise the warrior's just a guy.
100%. And if you're like, so Brad, let's say you bench 405 and you become this super successful bodybuilder, and you go home tonight and a drunk driver hits you and you're paralyzed from the neck down. What did they take from you? Well, they took everything. They took your dream. You can never bodybuild. Right. But however, what if you choose to be the hardest worker, and that's your goal, and then you go home and that drunk driver hits you? What did they take from you? Your hobbies. They took your hobbies, your ability to walk, but they didn't take your goals. They didn't take your dreams. You can still be a hard worker. And that was like, and you asked me a question, why would you give someone you don't know so much power over your dreams?
And who was I talking about specifically? Who were you giving your power away to?
that drunk driver.
Yeah.
Because if you focus your goals on external things, someone who's external can take that from you.
Yeah.
And then and we talked about, there was that Super Bowl player who won the Super Bowl and jumped off the bridge because he thought, once I won the Super Bowl, everything was going to be fixed. I was going to be that person. I was going to feel that way. When in reality, it's the journey that makes the person, not the destination.
So do you know, okay, so I'm pumped that stuck with you, because that's easily the most powerful foundational tool that I use if I'm ever going through shit, right? It's kind of like this competitive nature I have with whatever it is that's trying to fuck my life up, whether it be a fire marshal that wants to shut us down because we didn't follow something or another he made up, whether it's whatever the case may be. This is I want to preempt this. This is a very vulgar example, and this is based off of World War II, and this is a real thing I'm about to say. This is only with respect, but this is a true story. During World War II, the Nazis were very into trying to manipulate the human being. They were trying to control people, and the best way that they thought to do that is to break their will. So their science was a lot of based around psychology and how to break a human being's will. And they wanted to measure how much you had to do or what degree you had to punish them in order to their will to break, which then they completely submit to you and they'll do whatever you want. Okay. So there's this actual encounter where they have this man on an operating table, okay, and these Nazi scientists are around him, and they got him all hooked up a bunch of shit, and they're all taking notes, and they're like, listen, we're going to torture you now. We're going to torture you. We're going to make your life a living hell, and all you have to do is say that Hitler is your God. That's all you have to do. All of this is over the moment you say Hitler is your God. And they start cutting his toes off one by one. And he's just sitting there smiling. And then they start chopping his fingers off one by one. He's sitting there smiling. He won't say it. And they start real bad shit.
Oh, yeah.
Then they walk his family into the room. And they start chopping, pieces off of his family. And he still doesn't. And
the family part would
listen, I'm going to spare the details of this, but it's pretty fucking vulgar. Ultimately, he's left as this torso. They chopped all of his limbs off. They have him hooked up so he doesn't die. Like, they have him hooked up to everything you can possibly hook a person up to so that he doesn't die. And they're dumbfounded. They're like, all you have to do is say that one phrase and all of this is over. And, they ask him, because they're basically, the next step is death. Like, they've chopped everything off. Like, it's terrible. His family's dead. And he goes, and they go, why don't you say it? Why won't you just say it? And he goes, you can take away my freedom. You can take away my body. You can take away my family. You can take away everything that's, like you just said, external. But the one thing you want from me, I have to give you. You can't take it, which is my mind. Yeah. I have to give you my mind. I have to give you my will. You can't take it. It is something I have to relinquish, and I can choose not to. And bro, if that's not the most powerful goddamn thing there's on the planet, tell me something that can take from you. That it can't. It's something that you have to relinquish. When you're in the fucking heat of the moment, someone just cut you off. They got out of the car. You got out of the car. It's about to go down. You have to choose to lose your cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a choice. The fact that there's a reminder that there's always a fucking choice, that you have to relinquish your peace. You have to relinquish your freedom. You have to relinquish that which you really want. Because for you to go overcome your back injury, you didn't need doctors to approve this or that or the other thing. All you needed is what you said, is you needed that diligence to not give up, and then just keep working at it and keep working at it and keep working at it and keep working at it. And even if it's a 0.5% forward,
still forwards.
You have to relinquish that belief.
Yeah.
Right?
It's, and like when we're going to the back issue, like it's still frustrating because I still have back problems, Do I stretch as enough as I should? Probably not.
Why not?
Honestly, probably discipline. I started recently getting a lot more into stretching.
But you've seen such dramatic improvements from the work that you have done.
Yeah.
How is that not enough to convince you to do it all the way?
That's actually a great question. I never thought of that.
Well, let's think about it right now.
I don't know. Maybe it's I would say it's a pride issue.
Okay.
So
Why do you say that?
because I suck. So we got to first look at pride. So like, what does pride actually mean? What does pride represent? So pride is like almost, you try to elevate yourself in a sense. And I'm good at lifting, like strength wise, usually with the bench press. I don't squat.
Yeah, why don't you squat?
I don't like to.
Because
I'm still scared of it.
Because you're weak.
I'm still scared.
That's
Dude,
what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
how is that not what you want to attack?
I just like, I don't know if it's like, so if like I have a coach there, I'll squat. But like by myself, dude, I'm terrified.
Yeah, that's why you need to fucking do it.
Dude, it's like, I mean, even with like 135 on the bar, which is
I know.
no problem.
I was there when you
Yeah.
did 225.
Yeah.
And how excited you were. And then you hurt a little bit afterwards,
Yeah.
probably, right? Like you were
Yeah.
sore and your back hurted again. You said, fuck this. I don't want to hurt anymore. But you're in constant pain because there's something you can't fucking do, bro.
Yeah.
Just because you're not doing it doesn't mean it's not hurting you. You're just avoiding it, right?
Yeah. True.
Right. So it's like you're going to hit that same wall over again, bro.
Yeah.
You're not going to go around life avoiding that wall for the rest of your life. You're going to have to bend down and pick your kids up at one day.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't squat, how the fuck are you going to do that?
Good point.
Bench press them up off the ground?
Yeah, I can just lay down.
Yeah,
up and
right.
Stand up.
Hey, man. Find another zero is a no pull punches, bro. Like,
Yeah.
we're honest.
Oh, dude,
because
I
we
know.
love each other. And
Yeah.
I love you to death, bro. And that's why I want to talk to you. But, like, the reason why there's like this. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay, and I'm 36, right? So
Dude, you look like, you don't even look a day over 37, dude.
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate that, douchebag. I'm talking to myself right now.
Yeah.
You are me at 24
Yeah.
because I couldn't squat either. And I did have a big bench press, and I avoided the things that caused me pain.
Yeah.
And that made it way fucking worse. Like, way fucking worse.
Yeah.
You know? So tell me, why are you okay with that?
Why am I okay with like not squatting and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I've never really dived that deep into why I don't squat. I don't know if I don't have a desire to. Like, I don't know if there's just like so much like things that went through, like I don't really watch football anymore. Like I used to love football. But once what I went through with college, it's just I don't watch anymore. Like I can tell you like two people on the Chiefs, which are like my team, which is Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Kelsey.
Travis Kelsey.
What did I say?
Trevor.
Travis. You know, tomato.
So you know one person.
Yeah, I know one person. Do you count Taylor Swift? I know her.
Yeah, she's on the team for sure.
Yeah, she definitely.
She definitely is on the team.
Yeah, 100%.
We need to edit that out. There's no way I'm putting her ass name on this fucking podcast. But anyway, go ahead.
I think like I would say like why I don't honestly probably would have to do with pride because it brings back the idea that almost your own like being able to be hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, it's fun putting on like, and it's gonna go back to pride. And I actually I've been working on pride quite a bit. There's a Bible verse, Proverbs 27:11 or 11:27. It says, "For pride brings disgrace, but but humility brings wisdom." And I wouldn't say that I'm a really wise person yet. I'm working towards it. So I'm like, there's clearly pride there. And when I go to squat, you know, I'm only doing, in my eyes, 225. And that's like the most I can put on. And it's hard to look at like when I'm benching 445, right? That's fun. That's exciting. That's a lot of weight. And again, that's pride because why I want to bench so heavy is so I can elevate myself. Right. While when I squat, I have to devalue myself. Not devalue myself, but it doesn't elevate me. It doesn't make me feel the man, the him, you get what I'm saying?
Would you drive a Lamborghini to a trailer park?
No,
Well, then why bench 450 if you can't squat?
because I can throw a punch.
Yeah. Not if I fucking take you to the ground. You can't get back up.
True.
I'm just trying to put
Yeah.
into perspective because, again, like I relate to you 1,000%. I have
Yeah.
a literal necklace around my neck, bro.
Yeah.
Project Power Gym necklace.
Mm-hmm.
What's the bet? Say, run towards the roar.
Yeah.
Did I tell you this little story?
No.
Okay. This is another thing you'll remember for the rest of your life. There was a watering hole in the Serengeti in Africa.
Yeah.
You'll find out that I really like Africa. Okay, watering hole.
Mm-hmm.
North side, bunch of bushes. Okay, south side, couple rocks. From the north side, where all the bushes are, a whole bunch of animals come to drink. Okay,
Yeah.
they come in, the elephants, the gazelles, everyone's drinking. Bunch of animals. On the other side, on the rocks, comes this fucking ferocious, beastly lion.
Yeah.
Big, burly motherfucker. And he just fucking roars. He just lets it out. All the animals perk up, see the lion, freak the fuck out. They hightail it out of there.
Yeah.
Behind the bushes lay ambush 35 lioness.
Yeah.
And as they run away from the big burly lion, they all get fucking snatched up and eaten. Had they run toward the roaring lion, there's no way that one dude would have done any damage.
Yeah.
So when the thing you in your life you could recognize is fucked up, and instead of dealing with the thing that's fucked up, you build up all the shit around it, all you're doing is running towards disaster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something any human being ever in the history of life can avoid.
Yeah.
It will always come back. Always, 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 always. In a way that we can't even fathom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, dude, it is hard. It is hard. You're Big Brad. I was Big Bart.
Yeah.
What do you weigh?
278.
Yeah, I was 282.
Yeah.
Right? I'm 230 right now.
Yeah.
Right? So egotistically, I'm a small little bitch version of who I was.
Yeah.
Right? But the 282 guy, zero chance I'm fucking jumping off the monkey bars with my daughter on the playground on Sunday.
Yeah.
Zero chance. I can't even get up onto the slide because my back would hurt. I couldn't bend over to get underneath it. So how big burly Bart am I if I can't even go play on a playground with a 3-year-old? Am I really that big a badass guy if I fucking get out of the car and I have to roll a log over, but I can't deadlift because I can't bend over? How much of a man am I? How much of a beast am I if I have to lay down on a bench and push it with a bar? So
That's a good question.
I'm just throwing that out there for you, dude, because people would never say that type of shit to my face
Yeah.
because I was Big Bart and
Yeah.
you're Big Brad and you could smush anybody, you know. But I love you,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna say these things to you. It's good, you know.
Yeah. It reminds me of like the Bible verse, Ephesians, I believe. Hopefully no one quotes me, but it says
They're going to,
they're hopefully.
for sure. This is going out to billions of people.
Yeah, billions of people. If we can Google it, you know, and like I should just have Google up. It says if you seek the flesh, you deny the spirit. If you seek the spirit, you deny the flesh. Right. And you know, a lot of times, and it's still a constant like long-term versus short-term satisfaction versus long-term gain principle. When I go on bench, right, it's a short-term satisfaction. It's fun. What did I really gain out of that bench session? Not a lot. And the spirit, when you look at like the whole Bible, it's long-term.
Yeah,
It's a long-term game.
You're gonna be 36.
Shoot.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. It's,
You
hopefully.
know.
Still feels like forever.
But tell me, like, because truthfully, because this is how I felt.
Mhm.
I did shit that I could do,
Yeah.
and I did it well. And the satisfaction I got from doing it well was 1/100th of when I finally deadlifted 315 off the ground for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah.
1/100th. Me benching whatever I was benching or shoulder pressing whatever I was shoulder pressing because I knew I could do it,
Yeah.
even though it was 10 pounds more of a PR. The first time I finally got 3 wheels off the ground, I almost fucking cried because of how much effort and fear I had to overcome in order to be able to do it. Me putting up 10 more pounds on a shoulder press or bench press, whatever.
Yeah.
But me finally breaking the 225 and my back not hurting for 2 weeks afterwards, dude, I was like, oh my God, I did it. Like,
Yeah.
I fixed it. I finally fixed it.
Mm.
And bro, like, I want you to experience that.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I was there when you squatted 225. You fucking hugged me like I was your mom, dude. Like,
yeah.
you
Up
know?
in Highway K Club Fitness.
Yeah, right. You know? So there's a lack out there right now in society of confidence and a high likelihood of anxiety.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is because everyone is trying not to be exposed for the shit that they're not doing.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want that to come up because if it does, I have nowhere to hide.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I expose my own weaknesses and work on them wholeheartedly, if I find another zero,
Yeah.
what am I hiding from? What am I anxious for? What can you dig up and bring to my face that I don't already showcase to the world myself? It's the Eminem battle where he talks shit on himself.
Yeah.
You can't talk shit on me. I'm already talking shit on myself.
Yeah.
Oh, Brad, you can't squat. Yeah. I hope you feel this pain when you try to do what I do. Bitch.
Yeah.
You know, and that source, dude, that's the source of the power and the energy and the motivation to do literally anything. Nothing, no one, nothing can fuck with you. Because like that pain you feel, you know that if someone else feels that shit, they're crumbling.
Yeah.
They're crumbling. There's no way. This pain is the most intense fucking pain. When that L5S1 crushes your sciatic nerve and that shit crushes down both legs and you can't sit, stand, lay down, you're sweating just fucking thinking.
Yeah.
Right? You know people don't feel that shit. You know people stub their toe and they're incapacitated. And I'm literally lifing with the highest pain threshold you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Who's going to fuck with me? I'm going to let that squat rack fuck with me? I'm going to let that deadlift platform punk me?
Yeah.
You kidding me? No, I'm going to fucking stretch for 1 hour a day every fucking day before my workouts. And I'm going to show my muscles that my brain is the fucking boss. And every time they want to cramp and cause me pain, I'm going to say, no, little muscles. You abide by me.
Yeah. So scary.
Yeah, man. Well, I tell you what. If you try to live your life without being scared, you're going to die.
True.
You're already dead, dude. If that's what your goal is to not be scared, why even be here? Aren't you scared when you first kiss a girl and you don't know if she wants you to kiss her? Aren't you scared that if you ask her to marry you, she's going to say no? Aren't you scared to go for the job that you don't think you can get because they'll say no? Aren't you scared that if you try 495 on bench that you won't make it and everyone will see you fail? Aren't you scared that isn't fear the entire purpose of what the fuck we're doing here? Because the overcoming of the fear is the thing that actually makes you feel alive. Standing on the foot of the fucking mountain looking over and being scared that you might fall, but then you don't, and all you get is a beautiful fucking view. Yeah.
You read a lot of Marcus Aurelius, don't you?
I don't know, dude. I'm just making all that. I have literally forgotten everything I just said. I have no idea. It just kind of comes out. Swear to God.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have no
you actually know it.
Yeah. I've read Meditations 2 or 3 times, but Meditations is a book that whatever season of life you're in and you read it, it's like reading a whole brand new book all over again. I've read that thing 9 times, and every single time I read it, it feels like I'm reading it for the very first time. Because those quotes that he has or those thoughts that he has, they're based off of the seasons that he was in when he wrote them. Well, the season that you're in when you read them, the entire quote means something completely different. Yeah. That's why Meditations is my favorite book of all time. But I don't memorize it. Like I don't, I don't know.
There's something like, there's difference between memorizing and learning something. Yeah. I'm gonna go back to the Bible. There's a Bible verse where people come to Jesus Christ and like, well, then we preach your word. He goes, well, I never knew you. You were never in the Lamb Book of Life, right? The Bible talks about revelations and sanctification, right? Where when you read the Bible and you get lessons from it, there's actually an application process to it, right? There's many people out there who can quote the Bible tenfold, right? And then there's people out there who don't really know how the Bible works or don't really understand like the theology behind it, but they live the principles when they go to church and they learn about it. And I think that's a big indicator when you are speaking, you're just able to bring something out. Are you actually living what you're reading? If it almost sounds fake, like you're like a robot, you're probably not doing it the best way.
Sure.
So,
well, I mean, isn't that the same thing as what we're talking about I want to seem Christian. I want to be looked at as Christian, right? I want to speak Christian. Yeah. But the fucking lowest thing on the list is I want to be Christian,
Yeah.
or I want to act Christian.
Yeah.
Right. And again, as I've gotten older, and in your generations, you'll be much more hip to this now. When I first started lifting, it was more about looking big and looking strong than being big and being strong.
Yeah.
And that's a huge simulation for what society is, right?
Yeah.
I want to look successful instead of be successful. I want to look like I have a great marriage instead of have a great marriage. I want to look like I have money instead of actually having money. So, because social media doesn't have any proofing to it, right? Everything I post is whatever I post, and whatever I post is now exaggerated into reality.
Yeah.
So everyone's much more concerned with looking a certain way than actually being a certain way. But that's why everyone is so fucking empty, and why there's so much sadness and depression and anxiety and all this shit is because, again, everyone's afraid of their being exposed.
Yeah.
So if you can tell me Marcus Aurelius's chapter by chapter explanation, or you can tell me the Bible verses wholeheartedly, this hour may be like, wow, Brad's a very philosophically sound, great dude.
Yeah.
But then you won't want to spend 24 hours with me, because then you'd be like, oh, fuck, he'll actually see that I don't do any of the shit that I talk about.
Yeah. That's actually one of the things they did in the first Navy SEAL training, where they would take guys, do an interview process, and then the guy who created the Navy SEALs would take them to a local bar and make them drink like excessively.
To get the truth out?
To get the truth. He said he never trust, I think it was a non-puker. It was either the Navy SEAL guy never trust a puker or a non-puker.
Okay. If you can handle your liquor, you're not to be trusted.
Well, it's more of the idea of, are you going to face the alcohol or not when you're really wasted? And I forget which one he chose. I can make an argument for both. Ah, man, I'm trying to think of the story. I watched it when I was in middle school.
It's all good. That's it. I mean, I'm gonna look it up after we get done, but that's one way to fucking do it for sure.
Yeah, because anyone can say anything as long as they like. In 1 hour, I can put on a face that, you know.
Yeah,
I can tell
that's who I was
yeah.
in college, bro. The reason why I faked my own roommate was because like I was the first impression king. I would walk into a room and I would get the entire room to fucking love me. You'd think I'm funny and smart and awesome. And then I would hermit myself from you for the rest of my life, not to fuck up the impression I made.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I can live up to the impression that I made. Mm-hmm. I'm not funny. I'm not smart. I'm not cunning. I'm not charming. I'm not any of those things. I can fake it for a little bit to make you believe that I am. And once I make that belief happen, and if I avoid you for the rest of my life, then all you do is, if my name comes up, you go, oh yeah, I do know Bart. He's so funny, or he's so charming, or he's so nice.
Yeah.
Right? And if I don't ever see you again, I'll never fuck that up. And then there'll be a huge group of people who have nothing but nice things to say about me. That was my psychology. Because I believed in so little about myself that once I've established a good foothold with somebody, I would fucking avoid them for the rest of my life.
Do you think when you're going through that, were you battling more of pride, or do you think it was more of shame?
My entire existence based off of my childhood was guilt and shame.
Really?
Guilt and shame. Guilt and shame. Guilt and shame. I was guilty for being me, and I was shameful for who I was. I don't really have any... now retrospectively, I don't have any reasons to have been shamed or shameful. But my mom, with all of her whole heart, loved me to death. But the way that she got me to do anything was to guilt me and shame me into doing it. If I didn't want to go with her to a dinner party because she wanted to show me off to all her friends, she would guilt me and shame me into doing it. You know what I'm saying? If I fucked up something while helping my dad, he would guilt me and shame me for doing it. Like, that was all I ever received, was guilt and shame.
Yeah.
So growing up, I constantly have to consistently to this day battle guilt and shame.
Yeah.
Right? If let's say my boundaries have been crossed, let's say you have crossed my privacy boundary.
Yeah.
But then you can very easily make me feel bad for you. You can make something up, and I will completely disengage my boundaries and my-ness, and I will feel bad for you, and I'll feel guilty that I made a hard boundary. And that has been my biggest growth point that I've been trying to do in the last 10 years, is to not feel guilty about being myself and to not feel shame for being a human.
Yeah.
Right? Giving yourself more grace.
Fair point.
Do you ever experience that?
What, giving yourself grace or shame or
Shame and guilt?
shoot? Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay.
So, I don't think, thinking about it, I don't think pride and shame are very different in the ideas. If you look at like, so I'll explain this. So when I had my back injury, right? Not everybody knows this, but I was like partially paralyzed. I slipped 4 discs in my back and 2 were pressing on my spinal cord. The doctor said that it was like stabbing 2 knives in my back and walking around with it.
Yep.
They gave me painkillers. When that ran out, I would just go to Walmart and buy. If I could get my hands on stuff, then I'd get my hands on stuff. If not, I would go to Walmart and I would make my own solution with alcohol. So I'd take like Dayquil, NyQuil, Tylenol, like any number. I would take like, it sounds so dumb. I would take like for my toothache, I'm doing it, but I'd take gum number and I'd put it up on just random like numbing agents just to loop me out. I would drink to class on the way from class. I saved up like $4,000 from high school in like 3 months. I spent it all like and this was like 2019. So that's like $7,000 now of just like alcohol. I wasn't eating. Like I think, I would get from college because I was an athlete, they would give us a certain amount of food. And I would actually steal from the cafeteria by hiding food in my bag, pizza, but I maybe ate once a day. Fast forward, I was trying to go sober because my buddy actually brought some girls into my room, and I had my heart broken. There was a person when I got injured who I thought I was going to marry. Let me know. I hurt my back on a Tuesday. That Friday, she was drunk with her friends, called me and let me know, or no, that was Thursday. She let me know that I was no longer enough to be worth it because I wasn't a football player. So that was, going with the injury, with the heartbreak, mixing those two together. I was just trying to numb myself. And then fast forwards, my buddy brought some good-looking girls in my room because we had like a commons area. There was like 3 rooms, and then there was like a main area. And he opened up my door, and so I would say hi. And I was wearing flip-flops. My toenails were extremely overgrown because I couldn't reach over and clip them.
Yep.
I was wearing DC or Marvel pajamas. No top. I was like 340 pounds at this time. There was a stack of alcohol next to me, and then there was, I don't know if they saw the bottle, but I finished 2 bottles of ibuprofen that day. And I felt like just so disgusted. So I wanted to go sober, kept on failing. And then I got arrested, for a fake ID. And apparently it was a big, because I was a Missouri citizen posing as an Ohio citizen. So I was actually like handcuffed and stuff like that, put in back of a cruiser. It was a whole ordeal. And then I was still bouncing at this time. And like when you're bouncing freshman, it was a freshman bar. You don't really need to be that strong. They're drunk, you're sober. And I took it out on a kid, not like crazy. After I got arrested, they let me out. Well, not arrested, but I was just put in back of cruiser. Got a ticket, all that type of stuff. Would have to go to court. That night I was just mad as bouncing. I took it out a kid a little bit rough. And I remember going after that, that shift, going in my car. And I was about to commit suicide because I thought my mom would be ashamed of me. So she played a big, big role in my life. I'm dyslexic, very, very dyslexic. And I lived most of my life thinking I was dumb, like very, very dumb. I was in 7th grade, and she took me to the school to do a reading test, and I was beginning. I didn't even write at a 1st grade level. I was homeschooled this time, and she tried everything to get me to read and write. And I was reading as a 1st grader.
And how old were you?
I was in 7th grade. So they put me in the special room. You know, when people make jokes about the short bus and stuff.
I was in there.
I was in there, and till I got an IQ test done, and it came back that I was not dumb. I was actually a little bit above average. So it was still really hard as a kid to have your parents like having to read to you and stuff like that. And sorry, the original reading test was in 6th grade. Well, my parents did that summer because they got the IQ done at the very last week of 6th grade, and then during summer, they encouraged Wentzville School District to get a reading program for kids with dyslexia. Mm-hmm. So it was called Reading 180. And they actually, my dad's a teacher, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so we didn't have a lot of money. And so I was actually they bought a reading tutor for me, a dyslexic reading tutors, and those are not cheap.
Sure.
They're not cheap. And so going through that whole ordeal, going to a tutor every 2 times a week, then reading with my parents every single night, and then my mom would have these blocks on the refrigerator that you had for kids, and they would be like, hey, spell out the word cat. And I would do the same thing, and it was humiliating, you know. So I felt a lot of shame because, like, you know, I have a younger sister, and she's,
yeah,
you know,
for sure.
But going back, you know, we can go through that whole story. Long story short, because of Reading 180, my parents, I went from a first grade reading level to a 12th grade reading level in a year
Sick.
and a half.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was awesome. But without them, I wouldn't, especially my mom.
Yeah.
She believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself.
Absolutely.
And when I was sitting in my car and I was like sitting there, and I was like, dude, I just got arrested. I can't give up the pills. I can't give up the alcohol. If she found who I was as a person, she'd be shameful. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, I had my gun in my hand on my lap. And I had one in the chamber. And I turned on the radio, and it was Who You Say I Am by Hillside Songs and Reckless Love. And there was a Bible verse. I always misquote this one. It's the biggest Bible verse in my life. It says, all those who are tired, all those who are weary, come to me and I'll give you rest. Mm-hmm. And not knowing at the time, rest is also future tense. So to keep the story short, I went sober on December 8th of 2019. Following April, I burst my appendix, almost killed me, because I was home alone, and thank God I woke up. But it's pretty painful, mm-hmm. and they gave you painkillers. So the first night I took it, but then all I don't know how to describe it, but like the itchiness came back to take all of them. Mm-hmm. And I remember calling my mom. And this is like 8:00 at night, and I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and she's in Wentzville, Missouri, so about a 6.5 hour drive. And I was like telling her I can't do this, and I let her know everything. Let her know everything I was going through. I was like, hey, I'm sober now, but I don't know if I can't not take the pills, not to cry.
It's all right, dude.
And I remember her saying, I'm on the way. And I remember being like, I was so scared to tell her. And my mom and her drove 6.5 hours to pick me up. And it sounds weird, but in that moment, that was in so much pain is where I found rest.
Yeah. You let it out.
Yeah, there was. I listened to No Longer a Slave. I didn't get any sleep. There was no sleep. But No Longer a Slave for 8 hours or 6 hours on repeat until they picked me up. And it's still something like shame is still something I battle with. I don't know if you ever became that shameful. It's like something that is always going to stick with you.
Yeah.
But it's a battle. And like being honest, why I'm scared to squat is it reminds me of that. Mm-hmm. Reminds me of, because I got hurt squatting. Yeah. It reminds me of like all that, and I'm so terrified, which I know I'm not him anymore, but to go back to that.
No doubt. And absolutely.
It's scary.
Yes.
You know, and it's a lot. I could go into a lot more detail, but it would be more than an hour.
Yeah, but dude, that's that's the strength. You just found the source. The reason why you became emotional is because there's so much energy inside that spot in you. And we've talked about like the book Relentless by Tim Grover.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you just walked up to the cage.
Yeah.
You just looked inside the cage of your dark side.
Yeah.
Which is that shame,
Yeah.
right? And so there's so much of what drives you to do exceptionally positive things is because you're trying to, cover up that shame.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel too. That's where my center of everything I've ever done positively in my life came from, trying not to be shameful of myself or feel guilty about being myself.
Yeah.
The next step is to not walk away once you find that fucker. Because when you realize that you give yourself grace of how you could have been that guy and how you could have been in that position, like that's not an unbelievable story. It's believable because a lot of people feel that same way and have faced the same things. So once you have identified that there's not a uniqueness to your pain, then you relinquish its control over you because you go, this is something that I can move through because it's not something that's untouchable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, just like you got to think about how many generations of human beings there have been and how many years human beings have been human beings and how many situations have all of the cumulative human being experiences that's ever been. How many of those are similar to ours? And I would say there's a fuckload.
Yeah.
A lot. I don't know the percentage of people who stay in their position, and I don't know the percentage of people who've moved past it and grown through it. But I do know that there's a percentage of people who've moved past it and grown through it. Yeah. I know that there is. It's possible.
Well, that's one thing. So, like on Wednesday nights when I go down and I help the homeless, and you'll be surprised. There's not much. I'll tell you another story. I was going down there to kind of pat myself on the back.
Yeah, of
course. When the first time I went down there, I was like, I want to be that good guy to go help that person. And then there was a guy. And I don't want to say his name, but him and I were talking. We got into a great discussion, and he was a college athlete who got hurt, who got into painkillers. But the only difference is he didn't have. I had my mom, and I had people to rely on.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah.
And it kind of like stuck with me, where I was like, I came in here to saying that I was helping people. That I'm so much better than this person. That there's no way I would ever be homeless. But in reality, a lot of these things.
Oh my God!
It's just,
dude.
Some of the stories you hear that these homeless have gone through is just you wouldn't even believe it.
Yeah, you go. If I would have gone through that, I'd end up in the exact same spot.
And so when you look at those, like, it's almost like sometimes when we go through life, we shouldn't pretend or we shouldn't expect everyone is malice or angry. It's that most of the time, they're going through everything we're going through. Their life is as complicated as our life. Yeah. And that, we need to be a little bit more aware. I'm going to use David Usher for this. You know David, right? I was at the gym one day, and I skipped. I skipped the next day. I told him I was going to be at the gym, and this was during COVID. He texted me, and this was like, I want to say August. And he texted me and said, "Hey, where are you at? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Hey, dude, I just slept in and skipped the gym." And he knew that I wanted to be a bodybuilder and all that type of stuff. And he's like, "Dude, you cannot skip the gym if you want to be a bodybuilder." And what he did there wasn't like, was I still in shape? No. Was I still battling with my identity of who I was as a person and my addiction? 100%. But he was the first person who wasn't my immediate family and who wasn't my immediate friend who said, "I know you're struggling and I see it." And I don't know where I'm going with this point. I think
that you could have ended up somewhere, but because you had somebody, you didn't end up in a bad spot,
Yeah. When we're talking about, okay, I know where I was going. When we're talking about everybody is going through the same thing, and when we're talking about when someone cuts you off on the road and you're ready to bow, how much would the world be different if instead of we were ready to ball thinking that this person was acting out of malice, that we're like, dude, this person probably could have had a family member who's died.
Bro, the fact that we take everything so personally as
Yeah.
if people are attacking us.
Yeah.
It's I've said this 1,000 times and I'll die saying this. Like, life is ironic as shit because
Yeah.
we're so important in this life, and I have so many examples of how people care about me, right?
Yeah.
At the exact same time, I mean literally nothing to anybody because everyone's going through their own shit first,
Yeah.
right? So when I'm driving on the road and someone acts a fool while they're driving, I don't take it personally. He's not going, oh, there's Bart, I'm going to fucking cut him off on traffic. Here's a guy who may have just had a family member die. Maybe he's just not really handling his days so well. For whatever reason, it has nothing to do with me. Now, he cuts me off, which now I'm involved, but he's not doing it to me.
Yeah.
He's driving recklessly. I just so happen to be in the exact same area.
Yeah.
So is it my condition to have an altercation with this person? Or would I rather keep my own peace and just go, all right, I had to slam on my brake. I didn't hit him, and all is well.
Yeah.
Right at this moment, nothing happened. I was aware. I'm a good driver. Therefore, I don't have to suffer the consequences of hitting another person because I'm a good driver. He has to live with the consequences of being a reckless human being who
Yeah.
can't stay aware of his surroundings. He's probably going to have a much worse day than I am.
Yeah.
But I can choose to relinquish my peace and now have a bad day because now I'm going to go fight this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And it's for sure going to end poorly for me because even if I win, I'm going to lose.
Yeah. You're going to go to the jail. I think it goes back to what we were actually talking about the other day on the turf about what is actually a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, I think we think we're so important that, you know, let's say our car breaks down, you know, people are like, oh, this is terrible. Why?
You have no idea.
You could have been going to work and now you can't go to work, but you were going to work and there could have been a drunk driver. You know,
dude. Do you know the biggest blessing in my life outside of my daughter being born was me being paralyzed? The biggest blessing. Why? Not because I learned how to do mobility or not because I actually, leaned down to now I'm very secure with my body. It's because I stopped defining myself physically.
Yeah.
I didn't have a physical self to define myself as. I stopped being Big Bart and I started understanding that my drive, my mental intellect, my ability to fucking persevere, my peacefulness, my philosophical concepts, my internal shit is who I am. You can chop every fucking limb off of my body and I would not change.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God or the universe, whatever we're doing here, that's the gift. Sometimes they have to destroy the wall that you put up in order for you to understand what the fuck is at the center.
Yeah.
Because we're so worried about the external shit. Dude, I only give respect to those that I can see are trying shit that they're not confident in doing.
Yeah.
If I see someone who I know can do something and they do what they can do and then they look around for accolades, I go, dude, I'm not impressed at all.
Yeah.
This guy deadlifting 1,000, like, dude, that's cool. I get it. But what do you suck at?
Yeah.
Show me what you suck at and let me see you struggle for a little bit and get better.
Well, that's to bring up another good point. It's like, I was asked this in college and they said, why does people suffer? And I don't know if it was the original thought or someone else's thought. And I said, well, if you were to create a person and you had to create perseverance, what type of suffering would you want? Would you make them go through? If you wanted them to be brave, how scared would you make them?
That's what I'm saying.
Like
how
we want these principles.
Dude.
We want these like admirable
Yes.
like attributes, but
what is required for them to exist?
100%
The opposite.
the opposite.
So what do you have to do? Run towards the fucking roar, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. How can you have confidence in your perseverance, determination, or any of that if you don't fucking put yourself through struggle?
Yeah.
How? If I constantly try to take myself out of struggle, how the fuck can I feel brave? Can't. Not possible. Then I have people telling me how brave I am when I don't feel brave at all. Now I have imposter syndrome. Because if you only knew how not brave I actually am, then you wouldn't like me as much. Yeah. Now I have problems with fucking connecting to people because I think they're going to see past my bullshit because they think I'm some way and I don't.
Yeah.
And now I'm a fucking lurch because I just see you 5 times a fucking year, and then I actively try to miss you every other time.
Yeah.
That's how that shit happens. So the irony is I have to struggle. I have to showcase not good qualities constantly, and I have to show perseverance, effort, bravery through them.
Yeah.
And that's how I earn all the respect. The world sees you how you see yourself, period. So I am 230 pounds. Is that small? No. Is that as big as I have been? No. I can no longer bench what I used to bench, squat what I used to squat. I can't do all those things. But do you think I'm weak?
No.
Do you look at me and go, Bart's weak?
No, I look at you and I'm like, he's tiny.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
And that's when you're wrong. And
Yeah.
that's how we know that you have dyslexia.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I mean, you could probably beat your old self in a fight.
I would fucking destroy me, dude.
Yeah.
I would absolutely obliterate the 25-year-old me. Like, laughably. Weighing 40 pounds less.
Yeah.
Literally. I would shit on him mentally and physically. If we had to run somewhere, if I had to wrestle him, if I had to take a fucking math test, I would obliterate that dude. I would get into his head so fucking fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, but you only know that because I'm 36 now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that shit at 24.
Yeah.
This is why I'm having these conversations with you, because no one had these conversations with me. I had to wait fucking 11 years to learn these things. So I'm not saying that what I am saying to you is going to change your course. I'm not saying that me telling you these things is something that you're going to cement into your psyche. But what I am saying is I'm saying it so that you know it exists.
Yeah.
And now your own pain and struggle and suffering will cement them into your life as well.
Yeah.
I just hope that you'll do it sooner than I did. And every single time that I ever have a conversation with someone older than me, that's all I hear from them too. Why is Andy the most important human, in my entire upbringing? Because just as your mom believed in you, Andy believed in me the way no one else ever believed in me. And he was the reason I turned my corner. And all he ever repeated to me was, I want you further along than I am when you're my age.
Yeah.
And because he taught me that shit I met him when I was 22 or 23 or something like that. I have that opportunity.
Yeah.
It still didn't happen right when he fucking told me all this shit. I didn't just change who I was overnight because he explained it all to me. I still had to go through the pain points, and that's why I'm understanding why people put themselves through that pain. You wish so much. I'm like, I have the fucking answer, dude. Stop studying. I fucking have it. Just take this answer.
Yeah.
But it's the studying that makes you fucking remember it for the rest of your life, because the pain of you studying is something you'll never forget. You don't forget pain. You do forget pleasure.
It's facts. The people always want to say living on a yacht would be awesome. I'm like, dude, after probably 2 weeks, that'd be boring.
Bro, everything is normalized.
Yeah.
Do you understand that no matter how much money you have, there is an entire ecosystem still above you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No matter how much money or time or whatever, everything can be normalized. Literally everything. You come in contact with enough people and learn about their lives, and you learn about their lifestyles.
Yeah.
They speaking about it in a normal tone. When you're sitting there going, you do what every day? You went to Italy and then Spain and then Germany, and in your time just jerking off, you still made $80 million fucking dollars? You're like, yeah. Fuck, dude, does that not sound obscene? Well, no, I've been doing it for a long time. So to think that some point of life is going to be that not normal, oh my God, I made it, that's naivety. Because to this point today, your 15-year-old self wished how you were today.
Yeah.
No matter what baggage you think you have, you're tall, you're good looking, you're strong as fuck. Your opportunities is what a 15-year-old dreams of. But you don't feel like it.
True.
But you did at 15.
Yeah.
If you'd only gotten to this point. Well, now you're at this point. Does it feel like anything?
Not really.
Okay. So at 35, when you're my age, and you think, man, if I have a wife and a business and this, I'll just I feel good not because of the business and because of my back, and it's because of the shit I had to go through to get it all. That's it. Because that what's built my confidence in myself of of who I am as a human. And so
Yeah.
then I can show up for my friends. I can show up for my loved ones. I can show up and I know that I'm giving them a gift and not a burden. Because up until 10 years ago, I felt like anywhere I was always a burden. I didn't want to be a burden to people. You know, now I feel like I'm giving them a gift when I show up. And that's where I wish everyone would get to. You know, I don't know if that's a Bible verse, but you might tell me. Yeah.
I can't think of one right now.
Okay, good. I don't know how you guys do that.
What, Bible?
Not read the Bible. I think that's fucking dope.
Yeah.
I mean, when you recite those numbers, you're literally saying what line it is down the page, right?
Yeah.
How the hell do you remember page and line numbers?
Okay.
Every sentence is a number associated with it. And that book is this thick. How the hell do you remember every line?
Because you remember things that impact you. Right? There's like...
So you can't tell me the line before it or after it.
No.
Okay, so you read the line, you go, oh, that's awesome. And then you read what it is.
Well, like that, there's a thing called, it's called like a revelations, right? Where, like, you know how you're talking about that one book you're talking about, the...
Meditations?
Meditations, right? And you read it, and in each season, a quote can be completely different.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing when you read the Bible. Things can be completely, like, you read a Bible verse one time, and then a year later you read it, and it's completely different.
Okay.
Right?
But I guess my assumption was you guys, like, you could remember, you know every sentence and know what number it is.
No,
okay, so you read a passage and go, that passage is dope. Oh, it's Corinthians line this and this. 100%. And then you remember that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not that smart.
See, that was my misconception.
Yeah.
I'm like, because like everyone that ever quotes the Bible always quotes where it is in the Bible. And I'm like, how the hell do you remember that?
So it's important when you're like quoting the Bible to know the context. It's called tropography.
Okay.
So a lot of times when people use a Bible verse, they'll only remember the Bible verse. It does really matter, like the context of
where in the Bible it is.
Yes, and what the passage before and after also says. So like, okay, so there's like, I'm trying to think of a Bible verse that matters on context. There is.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I get it. Like if I understand the story, then the saying has a different meaning.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Okay. So that's why where it is in the Bible makes a difference, because if people know the Bible, then they understand if it's on the up, on the down, on the good, on the bad. It's who's talking.
100%. Because a lot of times you'll see people misquote the Bible, and they're like, well, this is what the Bible said. Well, where is it at? Like in Leviticus.
Use it out of context.
100%. Like it's like, well, Christians aren't supposed to wear different type of fabrics at one time. Well, that's in Leviticus, and that was under Israel law of Moses, stuff like that. Like they're trying to use different.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. That's just human nature 101, right? That's what we do with fucking everything.
Yeah.
Is we take something and then use it to our point.
100%.
You know, versus just letting things be.
Yeah, it's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get the information and let your point go to that information.
Man, this will be our last point. Got to wrap it up, bro. But the inundation that we have with information has, I had my own little revelation this weekend. You're 24. Were you alive in memory before the internet?
No.
You don't remember a time before the internet?
I don't.
Okay, by the time you started understanding how shit works, you could Google stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember a time before the internet, but there was no Google, there was no cell phones.
Yeah.
And I was old enough that I needed to know shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In my upbringing, anxiety and depression wasn't really a prevalent conversation. There really wasn't a whole lot of people talking about how bad things were. And I'll paint a scenario. When I was going to go somewhere for, let's say, a volleyball tryout, and you got the name of the place and an address, okay? You literally opened up a map, and you saw where it was, and you saw where you lived, and, like, you wrote down turn-by-turn directions, okay?
Yeah.
You had no idea what the building looked like. You had no idea what the inside of the building looked like. You didn't know the name or the face of the person that you were there to meet. You didn't know how to get there, and you didn't know how the streets looked. You didn't know. You didn't know any of those things.
Yep.
Yet you fucking went, right? I had no information and the confidence to still go and try. Now, when you have all of the information at your fingertips, people are too scared to try anything if they don't have an abundance of information.
Mm-hmm.
So when I didn't have any information, I didn't know how much information more there was to have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? I have no information, or let's say I have a little bit of information. I don't know that there's also all these other things I could know to make this easier for me. Right? Fast forward now. I have what the building looks like, a 3D tour of the inside. I have the guy's name, his picture, his biography, his Facebook. I have literal visuals of how to drive and get there. I have turn-by-turn directions when I get into my car.
Mm-hmm.
But because I have all that information, I also assume there's a whole bunch of other shit that I don't know.
Yeah.
And then people get stuck because they're like, there's a lot more that I don't know than I know, even though they know more than they've ever known.
Yeah.
So find another zero to wrap it all up is like that fear of I don't think I know enough can't be the thing that stops you from going, because it used to be the thing that got everybody going.
Yeah.
Because it used to be the thing that got us to go explore and find out and get lost. I got lost all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And then you learn the lay of the land really fucking good because you get lost all the goddamn time.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you're so worried about never getting lost, you'll never even go, which means you'll never know the lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use that philosophically however you want. Brad, thank you so much for coming, bro.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you, dude. I appreciate you being real and raw and honest, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what gets me going personally,
Yeah.
man. And that's why I had you on here, man, because I know you're a real dude. And I'd like you to come back and go again. I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Promise?
Promise.
For real, for real?
For real, for real.
Was it lit?
Sparkling.
Is that a new one? I don't know that one.
I don't know. I just can't do that.
Sparkling. That's a new one. You heard it here first.
Sparkling.
Get the fuck out! Peace!